You are watching and or listening to Unnecessary Nonsense Podcast, episode number 80. Yes, we are only 20 away from 100. What does that mean? It means math. We're going to talk about football and possibly math. No real promises on the math. I was basically joking about that. Although there may be some math involved and it'll be on the final exam. I'm Carlos, that's Dave.
I'm not ready for this final exam, Carlos.
You weren't ready for any of your final exams.
That's true, but I pretty much did all right on all of them, except French.
There you go. There you go.
Did I ever tell you that? I know this is random, but for 3 years in a row in high school French, I went into the exam with a 90 something. I don't know what exactly the mark was, and my final mark was 83 for grade 10, grade 11, and OAC.
Interesting.
After
Not
getting
really, but interesting.
90 whatever in French and in grade 9. And you know what? I don't remember any of my marks in any other courses, just those ones.
Nice. I never remember the marks, but I did at one point put all my high school marks out on a spreadsheet, and I was very proud of the fact that after 4 years plus OAC year, fifth year, my overall average was 70.1% for the whole thing. 70. I was like, yes, near perfection. That beautiful rounding of that number. That was the only way it would have been better is if it was 70.7. But I did what I could.
You exactly. You can only do so much. You can only do so much.
Yeah. So how's stuff?
It's okay. Stuff is okay. George was sick this week, so he's home for a few days, and had to get a COVID test. It was all fine, but it makes two of us working from home with a kid who needs attention. We made it work. And the other thing I'll mention is the political autograph collection is growing. I did mention to you this week that I got the one Brian Mulrooney autograph this week. And I appreciate that. You'll appreciate this, Carlos. I got it on Monday. So whatever date that was, at January 11th, I think, was when it came in the mail.
Yep.
Mailed on December 16th from Montreal.
Okay. In some cases, that's not too bad because for some reason, stuff out of Quebec really feels like it takes a while.
Well, it is Quebec after all, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, did you get the bill for GST after?
Not yet.
So I don't want to spoil the surprise for you.
But I was going to say, like, it would actually be more appropriate to get it in a separate mailing.
Yeah.
Right? And yesterday, to my great surprise, because I didn't actually think I was ever going to get anything back, I got an actual letter that referred to the letter that I wrote from Bill Clinton.
Okay.
With a legit actual signature as opposed to like a, auto signature or whatever. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But the interesting thing, I'll tell you this. So I've now written, it's like, I'd say other than obviously Reagan, because he's dead.
When has that stopped anybody?
Well, no. Okay. So let's put it this way. During my lifetime, okay, I've written to every living former president and premier of Ontario and prime minister of Canada. All right. Some of which presidents are really easy to find and get an address for. Prime ministers, not so much. But anyway, I've written to them all, and I've gotten most of the time, and still waiting for maybe a few. I've gotten something back. I've gotten an autograph back, but only the 2 U.S. presidents have actually written me back. No Canadians have actually written. It's just like, varies from, a letter from somebody who works for them saying, here you go. To like a personalized autograph. Maybe the closest thing I got from a Canadian politician was, thank you for all the work you do on an autograph.
Well, that's how he knows he doesn't know you. It's like, what work? Can I retort? Can I write back and be like, you, sir?
No, you cannot.
It's like,
I'm not going to tell you who said that. So
it's like, you, sir. I will write them all. I don't care which one of you it was. I will get you all in a room. One of you will lay claim to this.
Yeah. But both Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush, while he was still alive, actually wrote a letter back to me. And if I do this, that's the Bush letter on the wall.
I see. You are quite the political aficionado.
Something like that.
Yeah. So when does the letter go out to Trump? Because he'll send you back a price list, I'm sure.
I was curious because here's the thing. I actually debated about that. Should I actually write Trump? And do I really want this? And what I mean, based on personal feelings of the man and some other things. And Thought to myself, as any good collector, you want to finish the collection, Carlos. So I wrote on the form on the website to the White House. So we'll see. I don't expect I'll get anything, but you never know.
I see.
He might have a lot of time in jail, in the near future to just write people. We'll see.
I'm doubtful. But anyway.
Of having the time of writing me or going to jail.
Yes. That also assumes he can write. But
well, I mean, if you give him a Sharpie, right? I'm going to be very disappointed if I get anything back and it's not written with a Sharpie. Let's put it this way.
This is valid. This is true. Yep. That's fair.
So so that's where it is. And I have a few on order as well. A couple that I had to get off eBay for various reasons. So I have two waiting from eBay, and another one waiting for a signed copy of a book to come in.
I see.
So sometime between now and 8 years from now. Thank you, Canada Post.
Yeah, no, it's been real slow.
Even though they're coming from other countries, who knows, man? I don't know. It just astounds me in terms of like where things come from. I also am very curious, because I like talking about my mail things. Apparently, the Clinton letter was mailed from Tampa, Florida.
Yep.
Right. So it's on stationery with his like office, which is in New York City, but it came through Tampa. So I'm very curious as to why it came through Tampa, considering, as far as I know, the Clintons don't have any kind of residence in Tampa. So just another mystery of the post office, Carlos.
It could be. I will say that they've got these weird distribution channels where they'll go in weird directions where like, why are you going backwards? Wouldn't it make more sense to be at a distribution center closer? Or don't you have a distribution center closer? If not, you should. So anything else then you got to add?
Nope. I think that's it. That's enough that I've subjected people to.
If only that was true all the time. Anyway, so yeah. No, as far as this week is concerned, it was kind of interesting because it does feel like kind of the middle of January. Things are kind of in a bit of a holding pattern. They're moving along a little bit. But yeah, obviously we did get we're in a full-fledged lockdown in Ontario, but really all that means in practice is just kind of keep doing what you're doing.
This is so not a lockdown. It's the unlockiest lockdown ever.
The unlockiest.
There's
using all the words.
There's some down, but there's certainly no lock, right?
What were you expecting?
Well, it's just like, what? I don't really care. Like, I mean, okay, well, you got to do, and like, I support the government in doing whatever they think is necessary to try and slow the spread of COVID-19. Okay, I'm for that.
Sure.
Right. But don't call it a lockdown unless it's actually a lockdown. Like, I can literally leave my house whenever I want and do most of the things I would do anyway, whenever I want to do them.
Lockdown is not literally to lock you in your house. Is that how this works?
No, but what I'm saying is, like, in Italy or like some of the countries in Europe, sure, like nobody went out, right? And in some cases, you had to get like a pass to go out of your house, right? To go get stuff. Here, it's like, I honestly feel like I've had to drive a couple times. Like I had to go to, right when I had to go get my son tested for COVID-19 last week, and I'm out driving and I'm like, this is what the traffic is normally at this time of day. Like, it's no different. Yeah. So it's like, where, I drive by the mall and the parking lot's full. I'm like, the mall is closed. Why are there so many cars in the parking lot? I don't understand.
Was the mall actually closed?
Was supposed to be, according to the rules of what the government said. The mall is supposed to be closed.
That would be the question that I would propose. Is like, if you're saying that a bunch of people in the mall, it's like, well, are people going in and out of the mall?
Like, I get that. I think the food court could potentially be open, and Shoppers Drug Mart. There's a Shoppers Drug Mart in that mall, so it can be open, right? Fair enough. Like, okay, and I get that. That may require, depending. I don't think some places don't have a direct entrance in the mall. Some do. Right. But the amount of I'm like, there are not that many people in Shoppers Drug Mart. And,
you sure underestimate the draw of Shoppers Drug Mart.
Apparently. Does that mean it's like you can just go wander the mall being like, I'm in Shoppers? Right. Like, I don't know. Because it's like, basically, you get to decide, you're only supposed to go to essential businesses, Carlos, but you get to decide what's essential for you. That's where we're at right now.
So you're saying I can go to the watch store?
Pretty
This
much.
is
According to the government's rules, is Watch Store essential? Yes. Then go ahead, Carlos.
in fairness, though, the watch store has a double seal lock and a security man in there, so they're pretty locked down anyway. So you actually have to bypass, the security guy who will only let a certain amount of people in anyway.
So there you go.
So I would argue the watch store is the most lockdowniest of all the lockdown places.
Yeah. So forgive me if you know what I mean. Like I'm fine with an actual lockdown, but this isn't a lockdown as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, the Ontario government not exactly being able to enforce an edict, that's a shocker. That never happens. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I was scared maybe a little bit the first. I had to go to the post office to actually because I sold something on eBay for the first time.
My goodness.
And I had to get that sent out.
Mm-hmm.
And
so somehow Dave is magically teleported to a different section of the house, and he was telling us about selling something on eBay. You got as far as, yeah, I sold something on eBay.
That's really the extent of that. But I mean, I was worried about going out, right? Like I'm like, oh, because state of emergency, stay at home order, and then I realized no, everybody is somehow out. And apparently the police have no power to stop and question anybody or do anything. So it's like, I don't know. I remain very skeptical about this. This new.
Well, the thing is, it's not that the police don't have the power to do it. It's that it's a slippery slope. The politicians really don't want. They like to say the words. They don't really want to be like, okay, so in order to make sure you do it, like if you're out and you're not actually going to the grocery store or doing one of these things, if you can't like show me that you're heading in that direction or like there's groceries in the back of your car or something, here's the ticket.
Yeah.
Like you could literally be like, okay, you wanted to do the thing, cool. Here's a $500 ticket. Was it worth it? Maybe next time go to the grocery store or whatever. But the thing is, now what's making it murkier, of course, it is also that there's a lot of places to do curbside pickup. Like I'll give you an example. I was trying to sell something on eBay, and I was at the post office. I haven't had too many issues with the post office. It's been fine. They're pretty good at keeping their lines and everything going. Although it's a bit slow. I try to go when it's light.
Are you going to an actual post office, or are you going to like the post office within a Shoppers?
No, though we've got a little shop that sells like gift cards and stuff, but it's a post office inside.
Okay.
They've had it for years. Now mine is not very good. It's we used to have one inside of a pharmacy, not Shoppers. We used to have one inside of the like an IGA. It was like, they still have those? Yes. And for years they had a post office in there, and that post office was highly efficient. I was a big fan of it. Mind you, unfortunately, that was maybe 20 years ago.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So now I'm stuck with this other one, and I'm like, not a fan. But anyway, so I was setting off the stuff, and I was like, and I realized that I was almost out of bubble envelopes. So, and then I went to $1 store with Carlos Senior. No bubble envelopes. We went to another dollar store. No bubble envelopes. I'm like, And I'm like, okay, maybe Staples has it. Well, it turned out we were a little bit late. Staples closed for the day, but Staples would have had curbside pickup. It would have been, they were like, oh, you can order online ahead of time. I'm like, that's true. That's a fair point. I could do that. Now, fortunately, my dad went out and about a little bit the other day, and he was like, hey, I was by the other dollar store over in Oakville, another different part of town, and it's like, they have like 4 packages of them. I'm like, buy them all. They will all be mine. Buy them all. So, yeah. So we took care of the bubble envelopes, and now I have them in case I want to sell a couple more cards because I was doing very well with the sales I did. So I was like, okay, great. And the sales in turn allowed me to pick up some cards that I wanted and some other stuff, and I was like, awesome.
Nice.
And I used it to buy cards and beer.
I like it.
I'm living the life, Turnbull. Living the life. Yeah.
Solid.
Yep. But everything else is pretty standard as far as that's concerned this upcoming week. Now, one thing I'm going to try to do, it won't be this week right now because I'm a little run down, a little tired. But I got myself another, for some reason, my old tape measure was broken or something. So I got another tape measure. Reason being, I want to do some measurements on this desk and the desk beside me. And I'm thinking about shifting things around in the office so that the desk is facing this wall.
Okay.
So that I'm facing the window. The idea being that when I do the podcast or one of my live streams or whatever, I can be facing the wall with all the beautiful hockey and sports swag. I got a nice wall with a bunch of great crap on it, but it's facing the wrong way. Yeah. So it's like, okay, you know what? I'd rather just be facing that way. Also, it makes more sense to have it against this window because there's the power outlet and everything's here anyway. So I'm like, okay, we can do that.
Nice.
So I'm playing around with it. I'm playing around with it.
I
It'll
approve.
probably be next. Yeah, it'll probably be next. Plus, it'll make a little bit of space in the middle of the office and give me a little more room to work with.
Sweet.
Work in progress. The under construction sign may be up here soon, but we'll see. I'm going to take it a step at a time. We'll figure it out. Very cool. And the other thing I got to try to do, this is just for myself, is I've been doing a pretty good job of it, but I got to try to step up my exercising game because right now I get tired just sitting around because it's a lot of hours of sitting at work and
It
just
is
like
actually tiring.
yeah. So I was like, all right, I got to make sure I take. So probably what I'll do, one of the things that I'm trying to do here and there where I can is I'll take like 15 or 20 minutes and literally just walk up to the treadmill and be like, all right, I'm just going to take a stroll here up on the treadmill during lunch hour. That way I can be, I'll eat my lunch, but then I'll go step up there and at least get a walk in.
Yeah, for sure.
It's something. At least I have the facilities here, so I may as well.
Exactly.
Very good. All right. So a couple of things I wanted to chat about. A couple of NFL items. Now, first, let's do this. We got our good old fashioned, the old goat malcontent. So,
So I mean, the NBA is a gift that keeps on giving if you like drama. So basically, at the end of the thing, basically Kyrie Irving has lost about $1 million worth of his salary because he basically went AWOL for 5 days.
You don't understand, Dave. He didn't feel like going to work.
So and then because he was AWOL, he has to quarantine when he gets back because of testing and protocols. So he's been fined another $50,000 for violating the protocols. Yeah, right. He just kind of like no one has said why he was away from the team. Right, to the point that you know who Tim and Sid are, right?
Yeah, Tim and Sid here on Sportsnet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they put a thing on their Instagram. What was like Rockapella, you know, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? But they did where in the world is Kyrie Irving?
Nice.
Which was solid. Which actually took me on a nostalgia trip to watching that game show and playing the game. But yeah. And so anyway, so we don't really know. And then there was like video footage of him, you know, at like a strip club or something. I don't know. And then in the midst of all that,
well, I think Kyrie Irving was the one. It might have been a strip club. I don't know, but it was her birthday, his sister's birthday or something.
Okay, yeah,
yeah. The strip club is the other guy, James Harden.
Right. Sorry.
It's easy to get them confused. One of them is the malcontent who doesn't feel like going to work, and the other one is the one who went to work but gained a lot of weight so that he'd be really fat, and then he would just suck.
Yeah, but apparently not, because if you actually, I think there's also was that stage because the photograph of him like warming up for the Nets, he looks fine.
You talking about Harden?
Yeah. So it's like, how do you know what I mean? Like, there's no way he could have lost all that weight.
So you're saying he was wearing a fat suit?
He might have been.
That's like next level.
I don't know, man. So the point is, he successfully orchestrated the trade.
Yes.
You know, like I feel bad for Steve Nash. I would feel even worse for Steve Nash, but for the fact that you know he really should have just done what we told him to do. Right?
There's still time. Because he's disappearing all the time, he could put him in Nunavut and maybe just be like, I don't know where Kyrie is. We definitely didn't drop him off in Nunavut by helicopter, if that's what you're thinking. That's definitely not what happened. Stop questioning me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Nets are like they're 8-6, right? They're fifth place in the Eastern Conference, right? I think at the end of the day, they're going to make the playoffs, and I think it's probably good for Houston that they got rid of James Harden. But I feel like Kyrie Irving is just this cancer that infects any team that he's on now. And it's kind of like, it doesn't matter whether he's playing for you or he's not playing for you. You know, it's not a matter of whether he's on the court causing problems or if he's, you know, disappeared for a bunch of days and nobody knows where he went to. You know, it's just like, he's going to sink the team no matter what.
Yeah, no, that's why I genuinely would be very surprised if that combination of the three of them worked out. It wouldn't shock me if the James Harden thing is just a precursor to be like, okay, Kyrie's more trouble than he's worth. Seriously, Durant, we need to dish this fool. And then because they got to work on him because he's basically the one that they were concerned about. They only got Kyrie because they wanted Kevin Durant. So it was a bit of a package deal. So they said,
and you know what? Kevin Durant is the only one of those three that I actually trust to, you know, go in and play basketball and do his thing and actually try and make the team win and not cause problems. Right. I obviously think Harden wants to win, and I think Harden's a great player, but their problem with, apart from like chemistry issues, the problem with Brooklyn is not the offense. The problem is the defense.
which James
Right?
Harden doesn't address.
Exactly. James Harden is not going to help that. So, you know what I mean? Like if they're going to score like 200 points a game, then it's not going to matter. But I remain highly skeptical that, this team is capable, as it currently constructed, of making a deep playoff run.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's reasonable. What's going to be very interesting for me, like I said, is that you got these three players. And again, I'm not a big basketball guy, but I understand enough to get by. But you know that these three players need the ball in their hands a lot. Kevin Durant does a lot with the ball. Kyrie Irving does a lot with the ball. James Harden basically holds onto the ball like it's his precious. So you eventually it's be like, okay, so how are you guys gonna get the ball to each other? Because there's got to be some kind of distribution, some kind of an arrangement. Like maybe get a pie chart. I don't know. Like you got to figure out how you're going to distribute. And for the other two guys on the court, I'm like, they're like, should we just like leave? Like, do you need us for anything here? Like, should you just go like hang out at Taco Cabana? Yes, I brought it back. Should
Yeah.
we just go hang out at Taco Cabana? Like, if you guys are good, like, it's hard to imagine a scenario where the three of them could gel as a combination. So I really don't know what that means.
Yeah.
So fair enough. I don't know, man. That's kind of my thought process on it. It's like, and then I really do think the Nets would like ideally like to just throw Kyrie into a river and just get rid of him.
Conveniently, it's a river right by Brooklyn too.
Yeah, it just got to they got to make it look like an accident.
Do it. Do it.
Correct. Correct. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. Anything else you want to add on that piece?
No, I think that's good.
All right, so let's talk a little bit of football. We're going to get into playoffs games in a second. I did watch the Packers beat the Los Angeles Rams. I'll talk about that in a moment. But before I get to that, let's quickly talk about, briefly, Deshaun Watson's interesting ongoing saga with Houston. Long story short, he was promised a certain amount of, not necessarily input, but at least they would keep him in the loop on some of the things they're doing. And Houston's basically all but said, like, look, we really don't care what you think. Now, recently they made some overtures basically saying, oh, no, we care what you think. We totally want to talk to you. Because basically he's like, okay, well, then trade me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because at this stage, that's the only leverage he has. Now, mind you, he signed a long-term contract, so they can be like, well, your contract. The only real recourse he has is to basically say, okay, well, I'm not going to show up to work. Because if I can't trust you guys to put a good team around me, and you're actually making my situation worse, and I'm playing well, you're literally wasting my time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the situation is that, like, J.J. Watt literally apologized to Deshaun Watson for, quote unquote, wasting another year of his early career. And it's like, literally.
And that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. But it's like J.J. Watt at least understand. But J.J. Watt's been with the franchise since the beginning of his career. He's a lifer in the franchise. J.J. Watt may not be around very much longer for that team.
Well, the way he's talked this year too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he could potentially be a prime trade candidate too.
Yeah.
I mean, his value is obviously lessening because he's getting older, and he's also been injured quite a bit lately as well.
Yeah. No, for sure. But it's one of those things like when a guy who's been for that franchise a long time, I want to make sure I get this right here. He has been with Houston since 2011. So he's going to be 32 next year. So it's one of those things like he's been with that team a long time. And he's been a multi-time Pro Bowler. Like he's been one of their best players on the defensive side of the ball. And whether he's diminishing or not doesn't change the fact that he has quite a bit of sway in terms of being a leader on that team. Yeah. So the fact that he is kind of irritated and embarrassed with what they're doing is not a good sign for the franchise and the direction. And offensively, they're not going to get better they traded away, one of their best receivers and basically gave him to Arizona for a bucket of balls.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, if you're Deshaun Watson, he's like, okay, I'm in my early mid 20s here. I'm entering my prime. I'm playing at a super high level. In terms of statistics, I'm one of the top quarterbacks in this league. I'm making good money, but everything around me sucks. And anytime anybody's miserable, they end up leaving.
That's why it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I know this is a different conversation, right? But it actually will be interesting to see because I feel like this is where if you have a team, say like either like New Orleans where you expect Drew Brees to retire at the end of this year, but you still got a lot of, like, you basically have a championship caliber team regardless around. He leaves, you still have a championship caliber team. But if you can get like a quarterback like Deshaun Watson or even maybe Matthew Stafford, I know. Hold on there a little bit, but my point is that if you're a team that thinks you're quarterback away,
you
right?
have the young goat king. Why do you? 1 second. Why is there such a lack of respect for the young goat king? He's literally on your roster.
Because if I didn't say that, you wouldn't have put up the hashtag, man. Come on.
There is literally no justice at all for the young goat king.
No, there really
None.
isn't.
Zero justice. There's such a lack of justice.
But my point remains, though. If you're a team that thinks you're a quarterback away, right? Which I feel there's more than one team in the league that feels that way. The potential to trade for somebody this offseason, I feel it feels very real. I don't know whether it is or not, but it feels that way.
Yeah. I just don't know if, like I said, they were a lot of rumors and speculations out there that it'd be like, oh, you could trade him to Miami and then get Tua back. And it's like, I don't feel like that's a good trade. Now, for Miami, it's a great trade. For Miami, like, yes, we've been trying to get someone since Marino. And to be fair, like, I don't think Tua's bad. I just don't think he's on that caliber. I don't think he's going to be that guy.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
And Deshaun Watson.
So you don't have a boatload of Tua rookies waiting to be sold?
I do not. Yeah, I've never. Tua's been weird for me. I look at it and go, I don't know. I really don't know. So it's like, yeah. Right now, there's a lot of young quarterbacks out there, and we really don't know what to make of them. So when you have a young quarterback still, who has already shown you something, like a Deshaun Watson, and he was able to make something out of nothing this past year with Houston, like literally make something out of absolutely nothing, and still be able to perform at a good level with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of teams who are like, we have more than nothing. Imagine if we combine our more than nothing with your ability to make something out of nothing. That seems good.
Exactly.
So there's if they were able to come up with viable trades, I think there'd be a fair number of suitors who'd be interested in kicking those tires and seeing what could be done. I just don't know. I think if Houston I think understands that if they trade Deshaun Watson, they're basically conceding their franchise is garbage.
Correct.
They basically are saying, like, you can't even make it work with a potentially generational talent who literally ditched you because you're hopeless.
Yep.
It's not a good look.
No, not at all.
Like, what are you going to do in the future? What else are you going to do? And J.J. Watt, like I said, was a great player on the defensive side of football for quite a long time. And he's angry at you. So it's like, who then would want to play for you? Who's left?
Yeah, exactly.
There's only so many times you can bring Jay Cutler out of retirement. There's only so many times.
It's true. Especially when he's looking at doing the exact opposite of something.
But for $35 million for one season.
It's possible. It's possible.
Jay Cutler to Houston. Make it happen.
Do it. Book it.
For our collective entertainment,
first, everybody. You heard it here first.
For our collective entertainment, do it. Okay, so that's it for that. So let's talk about these games. So the Packers game, much to my non-shock, was more difficult than it had needed to be, even though the Packers controlled the time of possession, even though they were able to basically hold Aaron Donald down for the most part. He didn't really cause him too much trouble. There were some drop balls that were annoying to me. Really, I can't complain about a win. And by the end, the win was decent. They won by 14 points. But I'm frustrated that even going into the fourth quarter, it was even a one-score game. I'm frustrated that it wasn't like, blow them out, get them out of here, and let's just move on and start preparing for next week. That wasn't what we were getting. It was just kind of like, okay. Now, the good news is they used the running game to great effect. That worked out very well and allowed them to control the clock. That was good. And Aaron Rodgers was able to make his throws. He was highly efficient. He did make a couple of sloppy throws here and there, but then he also made some great throws. And Tunyon could have easily caught 2 touchdowns if he had caught the first one, but he caught the second one. So all in all, it was I would call it like a B minus B performance. Like I wasn't blown away by it. It was good. But LA was also diminished. So like my expectation is you beat LA. You should be in the NFC Championship. So now here you are.
Yeah. I have 3 thoughts on this game, Carlos. First of all, going into the game, now correct me, I don't think this happened, so correct me if I'm wrong. Did the Rams score on defense?
The Rams score on defense?
Yes.
I I don't believe so.
Okay, because going into this game, looking at everything, I was like, the only way the Rams are going to win this game is if they score on defense, which did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Second thought is, and I'll save the 2 and 3, and then I'll let you comment, please. Do you feel that Green Bay will beat either Tampa Bay or New Orleans next week? And 3, does it sort of feel that no matter who comes out of the NFC, they're just going to get curb stomped by whoever comes out of the AFC, most likely Kansas City?
Well, we talked about it already the last couple of weeks, where I said the NFC doesn't look good to me. So here's what I'll say: I prefer the matchup with New Orleans. I'm more comfortable with that. They have a backup quarterback starting. They have a third stringer as their backup, and they have the young go king who's not even getting any use. Now, if Jameis Winston is, well, then the Saints win by 50 in the first quarter.
They just call the game. They're like,
yeah, and then they just end it. It's like, call the fight. Somebody throws out the white towel, and we just move on. We're done. I prefer that matchup. I feel a lot more comfortable with the Saints, only because I don't feel like the Packers are able to properly defend the amount of weapons that Tampa Bay has. And it goes back to my frustration. So here's my frustration. We'll get into the game with the Saints in a couple of moments here. The Saints are composed. It's the rock, paper, scissors analogy I used earlier. There are certain matchups that work. The Saints are actually a decent matchup for Green Bay. Tampa Bay is not a good matchup for Green Bay, but Tampa Bay is a good matchup for the Saints. So, like, the Saints should be able, theoretically,
of course,
to knock off Tampa, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. If they do, then I like my chances. It's a more favorable matchup. Does that mean the Saints can't win? No, all these teams that we talked about can all go to the Super Bowl this year. I can make a case for all of them comfortably, and it wouldn't just be me doing lip service. No, I can actually make a case for all of them. But when it comes to the AFC side should have the edge. In the Super Bowl, I would give the AFC the edge against the field.
Even if it's Cleveland?
Cleveland can run the ball. If Baker Mayfield doesn't make mistakes, they could beat all these teams, sure.
Okay.
Which would probably end the world, but
it is, I mean, this is the one thing though, right? And because, we use the phrase, and lots of people have said, that's so 2020. And technically this is the 2020 NFL season, but now we're playing games in 2021. So do those rules no longer apply?
Well, this is like, you ever seen Scream?
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen the third one?
I probably, but I don't really remember it.
Some people claim that the beginning of 2020, the first couple of months was different than after March onward. So you see, the first couple of months of 2020 was part 1. The rest of 2020 was part 2. This is 2020 part 3. This is where none of the rules apply. Go back to Scream 3, guys. You'll get the reference that I'm doing. This is a trilogy. In the third part of a trilogy, we throw out a bunch of the other stuff you thought you knew.
Fair enough.
Every time you think you got all the answers, we change the questions.
All right, then.
True story. So, second game, we got Buffalo taking on the Baltimore Ravens.
That game is happening as we speak.
What's that?
Is there a score update for us, Carlos?
I will tell you right now. But in the meantime, while I give the score update, why don't you give some initial thoughts on where this
honestly
goes?
So without knowing what's going on currently, I would say my thought on this is that Buffalo's going to win this game. And these teams play very similar to each other. They have similar style quarterbacks. To me, Buffalo is a better version of the Ravens. And I don't see Buffalo not winning this game. Now,
tell me 0-0.
Okay, yeah, right? I think Buffalo is going to win this game. I expect it to be, well, I would have said I expect it to be closer than I would have expected them to play Indy, but then again, Indy was a lot closer than we expected it to be. So who knows? But that's my thing. I really think that Buffalo will win because they're just more talented, top to bottom, than the Ravens are.
I will say that this year's Buffalo Bills are perplexing to me. I find a lot of things that I like about what they do. It's been very interesting for me. I'm comfortable with the assessment that you made that they feel like a better version. I think Lamar has regressed in some categories. He can still take off and run with the ball. I don't like some of the throws he's making. I like some of the throws Josh Allen is making, and he also can take off and run with the ball, so that's good. They've shown a lot of balance, but they've shown these moments where they struggle to put away certain teams or to make certain plays at critical moments. Winning that playoff game was huge for them. It wasn't easy. Now, Baltimore right now has a lot of baggage about the playoffs. They've had bad performances in playoffs in recent times. So it becomes a matter of whether they can put together. Honestly, if they keep it close and execute a solid game plan, Baltimore should be able to pull it out. But if it's straight up just, okay, let's compete talent for talent, then yeah, Buffalo should come out of that side. I just don't like a close game for them just because I wouldn't want to keep playing close games if I was them.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to find a way to get some kind of a lead and then front run. Get up by 10 points and then just front run from there. Just maintain that lead and expand it if you can.
Yeah.
That would be the way that I would try to play that if they could, because that might be the way to go about it. I'm just doing some scans here for some of the other stuff. Yeah, so right now it is still 0-0, but the Buffalo Bills looks like they're in the red zone.
Nice.
So there you go. And also the Montreal Canadiens are up 4-0 in the Edmonton Oilers. So there's your NHL update.
Perfect.
There you go. Okay, so that is today's games. Now, tomorrow we have the aforementioned Cleveland Browns taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in the 3:05 p.m. Eastern time slot. The Chiefs are favored by 9.5 points per the score.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know. Odell Beckham Jr. has tweeted that Cleveland's going to win this game. I don't really see that. I mean, yes, like I said, like you said, they have a great running game. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. We'll see if any of those, the Chiefs not really taking quarters off or halves of games off before they really start to play actually factors into it or not. But we shall see.
If they sleepwalk through this game, it really comes down to this. Here's the deal. Let's make this easy. Kansas City Chiefs should win this game.
Yes.
Kansas City Chiefs should win the AFC Championship. The Kansas City Chiefs should be in the Super Bowl.
Correct.
With all that said, if they sleepwalk and Cleveland utilizes the running game effectively, Baker Mayfield minimizes mistakes, they use ball control and force Kansas City into having a quick strike, which they can do, but they force them into having a quick strike. Cleveland goes to the AFC Championship.
Now here's my question here. Because I don't know Cleveland's defense as well as I know their offense. Does Cleveland have a defense that can contain Travis Kelce?
On paper, no. But at the same time, Kansas City has demonstrated they will get off slow starts.
This is true.
So honestly, you don't need a defense that can stop Travis Kelce, quote unquote. Bump him at the line. Just don't make his life easy. Literally just be like, okay, we're going to step. I'm not going to give you any room to get off here. I'm going to actually bump you almost immediately at the line. Will that stop him? Not necessarily, but it'll slow him down. And if Kansas City can't get off to a quick start and you do use a ball control, that's the reason why I'm a big fan of the ball control style. If you're a team where you're not completely comfortable with what you're trying to do and you want to control the tempo, ball control. Why? Mm-hmm. Because then you're consistently eating clock. The other team's going to look like, how long has it been since we had the ball last? It's been 6 or 7 minutes of game time or 8 minutes of game. If you put together 6 or 7 or 8 minute drives, get some points at the end of it. Kansas City can score quickly, but they're going to be like, well, we have to score quickly now because you just killed like 7 or 8 minutes off the clock. That's half the quarter.
It's true.
So it's like you can run out of time very quickly. And it's like, how many drives did we have in this game? Not that many because you kept putting 6 or 7 minute drives together and just killing the clock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not a game that Kansas City wants to play. They want to kind of keep the tempo going. They're more of an up tempo team when they're really rolling. They would rather be like, okay, so we'll let you move down the field a little bit. You get field goals, we'll get touchdowns. We'll keep moving that up the score that way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to do that and you're gonna trade punches with us, we'll win. But if you're not trading punches and you're just slowing it down into a slog, the Cleveland Knights would love that because that's old school, like, 60s football.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, the last time the Cleveland Browns were any good. So
it's
they
like all right in the 80s for a few years.
Yeah, with Bernie Kosar and stuff. But if you go to like smash mouth, slow the ball down football, that's what I'm saying. If you use this running game,
Yeah.
You get Chubb to be like, okay, so I'm just going to go and we're going to bruise for 4 or 5 yards at a time. We're just going to keep doing this, and then we'll do some short passes and like we may take a couple of shots down the field, but for the most part, we're content to get first downs and just keep moving down the field methodically and really slowly and put 15 or 16 plays down to get down the field. Watch that time of possession go absolutely skewed. If that occurs, advantage Cleveland.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think you really think that's going to happen either. But the blueprint is there.
Yeah. They have the personnel to attempt it. That would be my strategy if I was Cleveland. That would be what I'd be trying to do. Well, we'll see. Like I said, Kansas City has some chinks in the armor, but all things being equal, if they just use their talent, they should be in the AFC side of the Super Bowl. In which case, they would be favored against whoever comes out of the NFC.
Correct.
Whether that is Tampa, whether that is the Saints, or whether that is Green Bay.
Correct. Agreed. 100%.
Yeah. So, last game on the docket, the Geriatric Bowl. The old guys. Combined age 47,556, conservatively.
Did you see that meme?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So here's my thing, right? Like, this is like when you get mad at team, because there's part of me that doesn't want to watch this game, just like last week. Now, luckily, I think Chicago really, again, should have listened to us. And in this case, really you. If they put in Nick Foles earlier, they would have had a shot at that game.
Yep.
But by not putting in Nick Foles for the entire game and letting Mitch Trubisky have the entire game, they got a garbage time touchdown, which was pretty awesome in the fact that it ended the game. And then Jimmy Graham scored the touchdown and just ran down the tunnel. That was pretty awesome. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, you know, Chicago's offense was garbage. They're missing some people. And, yeah.
Where was Nick Foles? Where was Nick Foles? This hashtag didn't damn long.
Justice for the hashtag backup QB Go King. Yeah, it's really true.
Like, is there a better backup you would want in a playoff situation?
No, not considering he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and considering he was performing very well against said New Orleans
and almost took them to another one the following year.
Correct. Just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, so here's the thing, and I think so. The problem is, I would like to not watch this game because I'm not sure how well my heart is going to hold up during this game. But I have to watch this game because every game now is most likely could be Drew Brees' last game.
Yeah,
because I don't think anybody thinks he's coming back next year. So you kind of have to watch for that last game in the Superdome too. Now guaranteed if he's done because the NFC Championship game, if they make it, will be whoever wins this game is traveling to Green Bay next week. So there's that.
Yep.
So I have to watch the game. I don't have a choice.
So what you're saying, if I understand you correctly, because normally I do a live stream on my YouTube channel on Sunday. This Sunday I have canceled it because I'm going to sit down and watch some football. So what you're saying, if I understand you correctly, is StreamYard watch party.
Yes, at some point because of the time of the game, George will have gone to bed. So we can make something happen.
Yes. I will be in front of the big TV for this one. Usually I'm watching in my office from the captain's chair here, and I got the screens going. I'm like, no.
So here's the thing, right? The matchups favor the Saints.
It should.
Not. I don't think they favor them by like leaps and bounds.
No.
But the matchups favor the Saints. The Saints have won. I think if you take two games, I think it was like the Saints have outscored the Bucs with something like 72-26 or something like that.
Correct.
Obviously, most of that coming from the 38-3 beatdown that they laid on them last time, and that was in Tampa Bay. I expect it to be a closer game, but I think it comes down to sort of what you can always come down to with Tom Brady is can you get pressure on him, right? Because if you don't, he's going to connect. Antonio Brown's coming on; he's playing a lot better. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and their tight ends are pretty good. Although, if Marshawn Lattimore is playing on Mike Evans, I definitely favor that Marshawn Lattimore. Ever since Mike Evans sort of blindsided him, hit him in the back one game, he's basically been lights out against him, and Evans has done nothing. I expect that to continue. I think it's big for the Saints. They got Trey Hendrickson back. They're one of their D linemen who was out with a neck injury last week.
Yep.
I think like here's what I think. If you take the sum of the parts, right? I think on offensive line versus their defensive line and defensive line versus, that the Saints have a better line. on both sides of the ball, and that's what's going to win them this game.
Yeah. No, the thing is, I always make fun of, justifiably so, because it's entertaining for me. But the reality is this: I don't want to put too much pressure on on the backup quarterback starting for your team, but the reality is they're supposed to win this game. As far as I'm concerned, this after all the last couple of years, all the quote unquote misfortune, all that, this is the one. Because not only can you do it again, not only can you do it against the full goat, like it would be an exclamation point, winning the third game this year, doing the third, sweeping the season series for them in the biggest one, the most critical one. You don't do it for me. Don't do it for Dave. Don't do it for America. Do it for the world.
Exactly.
We need the end of this Tom Brady madness. More importantly, we need the end of Antonio Brown madness. Because if he needs to light himself on fire after the games, then so be it. I will not tolerate any more of this Tom Brady-ness, any more of this Antonio Brown-ness, any more of this Gronk. Enough. Right now, you are basically in the same spot as the Ottawa Senators back in the day where they could have stopped the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Ogilvy failed. Now, traditionally, you fail, but this time don't fail. Do the opposite of that. Do literally the opposite of that. Don't do the thing you usually do. Do the other thing.
Yeah, well, I do what I can, man. Like, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, it makes me nervous because realistically, like, it would not be the greatest shock ever if if Tampa Bay won, because anything can happen. But I think the Saints are a better football team. They're a more together football team. And I think, like I said, like if you go through matchup and matchup, are there places where the Bucs win? Sure. But on some of the parts, New Orleans is the better team, right? And they've played like the better team in the first two games, and I expect them to play like the better team in this game, especially having won last week. I think that helps and that feels good. But as you said, I can't remember what you said exactly last week after the game, but it's basically like Tampa Bay didn't play like as good as they could. So if Tampa Bay plays like they did last week, that's great.
Yeah.
New Orleans will win. But if New Orleans also plays like they did last week and Tampa Bay plays like they did last week, I don't know what happens.
Yeah. Well, it literally comes down to like the reason I made that assessment is they struggled and eventually put some distance between them and Washington football team. If Washington football team had been able to run on all, like they did the best they could, and the guy they put in
I mean, obviously hindsight is hindsight, but do you feel Heineke played really well? Do you think if they had Alex Smith, they would have won?
I think Alex Smith would have been more solid, but Heineke had some struggles a little bit here and there. He played well, but that team was underpowered. Like that team barely won the worst division in the league. So they did the best they could with what they had, but they were playing with spare parts. Like they literally were doing their best with spare parts, glue and duct tape. And they were still able to stay competitive. That's why I say, like, to me, Tampa Bay isn't a contender other than the fact that they're there. They struggled to beat Washington. They did struggle for most of that game. At the end, they finally put some distance, but it was at the end. So it's like, was I impressed by Tampa Bay's performance? No. If anything, I was impressed by Washington's performance. Considering what little you had to work with, you with a little bit more firepower, you probably could have won that game.
You basically took a QB off the scrap heap.
Yeah, and you still were close. You still had a real shot at it. If I'm Tampa, that's not encouraging to me. And if I'm the other teams, I should be looking at it and going like, okay, so what did Washington do well?
Because look, I mean, the blueprint's there to beat Tampa.
Yeah.
Their schedule down the stretch was a fairly easy schedule.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of who you looked at, in terms of who they played. So
well, I remember something during the regular season. Another team they had some trouble with. They did win the game, but another team they had trouble with, the Giants.
Yeah.
The Giants weren't any good. So
yeah, I don't know, right? Like, I mean, I don't think it'll be. I'd love it if it was a blowout because then we could just sit back and say, "Screw you, Tom Brady, you faux goat."
This could be several minutes of like glorious cackling.
Exactly, right? Glorious. I mean, we both would like this game to be over by at least the fourth quarter so that we could enjoy 15 minutes of cackling. Like, let's be real.
Correct.
I don't expect that, but I expect. I don't know what I expect. I don't want to put it out there because you know what I mean. Like you just
what you need to do, Dave, is you need to pull the call. You need to put the call down to New Orleans You need to call Sean Payton. And you'd be like, Sean, listen to me. He's like, who the hell are you? I know Carlos. Okay, fine. I need a direct line to the team. What do you need to say? He's like, guys, I've been a New Orleans Saints fan for years. No rational reason why, because I'm nowhere near New Orleans, but I randomly just like to go to New Orleans, so I'm weird. But the point is this. If you fail me this time, no one makes the team next year. Everyone's cut. You're all gone. All of you. Who the hell are you? I know Carlos. Damn it.
If only, man.
That's all you got to do. Inspire the team. Inspire the troops, Dave.
Inspire the troops. But you know what I mean? Like, because, if they don't win this, then, you know what I mean?
No one makes the team next year.
You might as well. Right? Because what are you going to do? I mean, you addressed the two big issues they really had, going into this year before, like, the offseason, where I felt, I think most of it, they needed a secondary receiver. Mm-hmm. They got that in Emmanuel Sanders. And they needed, to take some of the pressure off Mike Thomas so that, Mike Thomas is still going to get his share, especially, when everybody's healthy. Mm-hmm. But they needed somebody else, and they got that. And I think they needed some help in the secondary, and Malcolm Jenkins has provided that. So, you know what I mean? They filled the holes they needed to fill. So, you know what I mean? If they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, which is still a very big if, you know what I mean? I don't think there's any combination of players they could have got together that would have done it.
Yeah, I think. No, I get what you're saying. I think the Super Bowl is a bit ambitious at this moment, but I would say they'll get past this game, get to the NFC Championship.
Well, that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah,
you can't be looking past it. And but as you said, like, do it for the world, man. Nobody wants Tom Brady to win another Super Bowl.
No. This man needs to fail now.
Right? This man should have retired. And let's right. This I want him to get a worse beatdown than Favre did in the 2010 NFC Championship game.
Really? That's where you wanted to go with that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It didn't seem like much of a beatdown aside from a fumble and a late interception. But I suppose
he was apparently he was pretty bruised after the game.
Oh, I'm sure he was bruised, but he was like, "Yeah, you've been hitting me this whole game, but I'm still in it."
Yeah, but see, the thing is, let's put it this way, Carlos. In all fairness, Brett Favre is kind of a freak that way. Like, Brett Favre could take an inordinate amount of punishment.
Yes.
Right. I don't think Tom Brady can.
Yeah. Well, that's the point, though. You have to hit him then.
So if they hit him like they did Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to win this game.
There was a stretch of time where Brett Favre was basically Jason Voorhees. You could just put an inordinate amount of punishment on him. He would just keep coming back, and it'd be like, why? He's like, I'm going to get back up. You realize that, right? So Brett Favre is not the greatest quarterback of all time, but you got to admit he's probably one of the most durable.
Absolutely.
Like, he just kept going until finally he was like, okay, I can't take it anymore. And it took a lot. It took decades of punishment to get him to that stage.
No, for sure it did.
Yeah. So especially considering, but like I said, we already know that the formula's out there to beat that team. And historically, if you hit Tom Brady hard enough, he cracks. Mm-hmm. He's always cracked.
And for those of you who are thinking, but it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. It's happened 21 times where a team has played, 3 times in a season. 14 out of the 21 times the team has swept the games.
Oh my God, he pulled a stat.
So
what?
There you go.
That is 2/3 of the time. There's your math. Boom.
And on that note, Carlos,
we did it. I think that's it. So that is this episode of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. Hopefully, I was lacking a little bit of energy. I did the best I could. I was able to get in there though when we had the Young Goat King, and of course the all-time backup QB goat. We had that, and then of course all of you. So I'm just letting you all know ahead of time. If there's going to be any clip from this podcast, it's going to be when I explain the own motivational speech Dave gives, where he explains that if you fail me this time, none of you make the team next year.
Not a single one.
Not a single one, as they should. All of you are cut.
In accordance with the prophecy, if that happens. But let's just hope the other prophecy takes precedence, in which Tom Brady gets a punishment he deserves.
Fact. So that's it for us. This is available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. Not lately because I've been forgetting to upload it. But it is available on YouTube consistently. If you check YouTube, the video will be up.
This
I'm
is
gonna have to
true.
do. I'm gonna have to do a little editing on this one because Dave, I think, lit himself on fire or disappeared or died or something, and then teleported to another dimension where he is now. So for you, it will be a seamless transition, but
But
some
for
work will
us,
need
it
to be
was
done.
not.
Yeah, for some work will need to be done first, but we'll see what we can do. But we'll be back on the next episode. We'll be back coming up here. It'll be talking about the AFC and NFC championships. Hopefully, we'll know what the matchups are by then, and we'll have some interesting thoughts as we lead into the Final Four. And I think next week I'll start maybe talking a little bit of the Huckies. Because,
Ooh.
well, we may as well, because by that point, maybe the Dallas Stars will have played a game.
Maybe.
Well, the scheduled play on the 22nd, so maybe by then they will have played a game. Singular.
I'm telling you, man, it all went downhill from that team once they cut ties with Taco Cabana.
It's just been an endless array. It's great. This is great misfortune. Are you sure that the Saints didn't cut ties with Taco Cabana? Because that might explain a lot.
That's true. If they ever had ties, I think Taco Cabana is only in Texas.
I don't see this as a viable excuse. It'd be like, I used to order a lot of stuff from Taco Cabana out of state. Did you stop? Yes. When did you stop? Oh, well, right before we started losing those playoff games in those horrific fashion. Well, you idiot! You're cut now. I'm not even waiting until next year. You're cut now. Yep. Never anger the Taco Cabana gods. That is the piece of wisdom I leave with all of you. All right, so that's it for me and Dave. We will catch you on the next episode